Is Ethereum about to lead the next leg higher in crypto? In today's video, we're diving into the recent strength showing up on Ethereum, signs of renewed ETF inflows, and the key levels that could indicate a breakout to new all-time highs. We'll also explore what this momentum could mean for the broader altcoin market as capital starts rotating beyond Bitcoin. My name is Paul Sampson. Welcome back to DataDash. And before we dive in, folks, a quick thank you to our channel partner, Efani. Personally, I've been trading and investing in the crypto market for nearly a decade, and aside from sending assets to the wrong address, one of the biggest fears in the space for me has been getting SIM swapped. It's a serious risk that too many people overlook until it's too late. Efani takes the fear off the table with military-grade protection, $5 million in insurance, and a guaranteed no SIM swap policy that they've built one of the most secure mobile solutions available for crypto investors and high-risk individuals. So if that's something that you want locked down, check out the link down in the description below and use the code DataDash to get $99 off the monthly or yearly subscription. Big thanks to Efani for supporting the channel. All right, folks, Ethereum has essentially started a little bit of a breakout towards a new high here, right? So we all know that we have seen pretty much just range-bound activity dating back to all the way pretty much since 2021, with the still to this day all-time high from back in 2021 of about $4,900, give or take, 48.78 on this chart here. And we've essentially just been ranging ever since. And realistically, when you look at the Ethereum chart overall, it's just been a really big range-bound activity. And back in the beginning of this year here, or I guess the end of 2024, coming into January of 2025, we had that setup that I've been stating as the stairs down and potential elevator up scenario. And on top of that, we had this extremely bullish harmonic setup, which is a sequence of Fibonacci's with a certain set of ratios and rules that go along that with a set of targets as well. And once we came down and swept these lows down here from 2023, this was a very valid setup. I was targeting back to just a simple 382 retracement, and that's from the overall high to low. This was also our quarterly pivot at the time, which is still our quarterly pivot for this quarter. And what that is the high time frame average of price from last quarter, likely to be met this quarter. It's also a very high time frame average that you'd like to see claimed and being held above for more bullish continuation. Which we have since then done, right? We've come up, we've held this region really nicely. We closed one daily candle below it, I will say. On a weekly time frame, we've closed all weeklies above, and we've just been consolidating above this region, which is also that 382 as well. And still, really, as long as we're holding this region, there's no reason we wouldn't come up to the next major target, which is our gold pocket, which is currently the elevator target too, and our B point of this pattern, which is both aligned here at about $3,100 for Ethereum. Now, this is going to offer up a major area of resistance in the short term, at least. Definitely an area I'd be looking into for a potential pullback, cool down. And then on the vice versa, this is the number one area I'm looking to flip, whether it's with a straight breakthrough and flip right away, or if we come up and we get a pullback and then we come back and break through it later. This is the key region that's going to indicate more upside continuation. And for personally, if we were to come up and flip $3,200, $3,100, basically just flipping this region, getting back up into the high side of this range, I fully anticipate making a run up towards the all-time high at that point. Now, folks, what could cause this, you're going to ask? And one of the biggest things that I've been tracking as of recently as well, just not only just with the technicals, basically stating and pointing to at least that $3,100 getting tagged in the midterm here. The big key region for me is just to see that level flipped on a daily and weekly closing basis. And that's what I'll be looking to for that confirmation of continuation to the upside. But aside from that, we're starting to see some inflows on the ETF products where shifting from Bitcoin potentially into Ethereum. And of the two, obviously, Bitcoin has been where the heavy money has been flowing into for the entirety of the ETF life, where we've seen billions flow into Bitcoin, where we've seen only millions going into the Ethereum ETF, however. But we've seen a little bit of a shift here. I'm going to cover that here in a second. And it's just an interesting topic because at this point where we've seen nothing but Bitcoin excelling to the upside for basically the better part of 2 years here, there is going to be a point where even if Bitcoin does continue higher, which I think it will, that the altcoins will get a period where they're going to outperform, right? The sector rotation will occur, right? It's not going to just only be Bitcoin excelling forever and ever, especially in the climate and the atmosphere that we're in right now, where everyone is truly in the thought and the belief that you're not going to see any altcoin rallies. You're not going to see that altcoin season. I think that the traditional altcoin season is probably not what we're going to be seeing as far as what people are used to, where it's just throw a dart at anything and it's going to, see a 10x move or a 5x move. I think that you're going to have to be a little choosy. You're going to have to be a little picky. It's just like the stock market, right? Where you have the Mag 7 and there's 7 stocks that, realistically are bringing up the overall market. I think that we're in that position now with the crypto market as well, where there's going to be few winners, but those winners are going to win big. And speaking of potential 5 and 10x moves, before we jump back in, if you're looking for a real edge in this market, please be sure to check out DataDashPro.com. Between all the noise, distractions, and algorithm-choked feeds, finding those 5 to 10x opportunities is way tougher than ever now for the average trader, and that's where our platform comes in. At DataDash Pro, I share my trading insights, especially around timing altcoin setups that are often missed by retail, and then Nicholas Merton brings in the macro lens through the Dash report, diving into the next big narratives in both stocks and crypto that could fuel generational wealth. So if you're serious about navigating this market like a pro, head over to the link in our description and see what we've been building over there. You can also choose the bundle where you get the best of both worlds. We call it basically the DataDash full experience, where you get the Dash report as well as access to the Traders Club, where Nicholas and I both provide all of our analysis and data for you on a daily basis. So here we can see that honestly, for the last several weeks here, the Ethereum ETF inflows have been really picking up here, which we have not really seen for the life cycle of Ethereum, right? We've had times where we got a few come in, a few come out. It's been pretty neutral, but as of recently, there's been a ton of interest, it seems, from the institutional side as far as ETFs would go, and the buying appetite on larger players in the market. So this is leading me to believe that we are going to see that move higher in the coming weeks potentially. The idea here is more than likely if we do push up to the $3,100 area, that's going to offer up once again a little bit of a pit stop, a little bit of profit taking is going to occur there, myself included. I have a huge take profit area set up for $3,100 as well. But I do anticipate that if that's the area where we're going to see a cool down, that next leg will take us up. Obviously, we'll have to see how things unfold. But with everything the way that it's looking at the moment, does look relatively bullish for Ethereum, especially with the way how negative and how many people probably missed that low just a few weeks back. It's one of those times where you get one of those hated rallies at times where people are very upset that they missed it. Things change so quickly and they weren't able to enter, or they're waiting for that pullback that just doesn't get as deep as they'd like. And that move can be very swift. I do believe that over the summer, we have the opportunity to see Ethereum truly push up into potentially these new all-time highs, if not by the end of the year. Now, a couple of other factors that align with that bias at the moment. Once again, one of the first charts I've ever showed here at DataDash was the ETH versus BTC pair. And this is something that I've been tracking for several really years at this point. And this is a huge bullish reversal pattern that is, I'd say, in my opinion, I'd say that it's very valid at the moment, and likely that we've already put in quite the completion zone here, and we're in the midst of the beginning stages of the move higher. I would really add more confirmation of continuation as the quote of the day, I suppose, once we get above basically this 20.027 area, and as far as, once again, measuring ETH against Bitcoin. But aside from that, we've had like I said, huge bullish reversal pattern come into a completion zone in perfect harmony as far as timing would go, as far as being a symmetrical setup, which is very important with these harmonics. It's very, very crucial that this does basically hold this low at the moment for sure. And then if we start to come through here, the major targets of this are all the way back up here towards about 0.045, the gold pocket up here. And just on a percentage base, these are some huge moves, 78%, potentially 160%. And just to put that in perspective, just this initial bounce here has only been about 40%. And that's where we saw ETH basically bounce from 1,400 to now 2,800. So over 100% rally on a 40% move here. Not to say that you can just kind of copy and paste that over and state that, if we see another 100% move here, that's going to be a 3x on Ethereum. Doesn't necessarily mean that in the grand scheme, because Bitcoin could come up with it, right? But overall, this is indicating that Ethereum is set to outperform Bitcoin in the nearest future. I would say more so the midterm. So this is not something that's overnight. This also took 6 years to complete. So in the idea of timing on when we may come up to these targets, very well could still be about a year and a half, 2 years before we reach them, right? So it's not necessarily just an overnight, just rocket ship from here. You have time. Never want to incite any FOMO or anything like that. But I do just want to point out that the overall idea here is that I think that Ethereum is quite bullish. I think it's showing, big signs of strength. Even if we see these temporary 15, 20, 30% pullbacks after some sizable moves higher, I think that the overall idea here is that the moves will come to the upside for Ethereum over the coming months here. And another very basic thing to look at here, and this is really more so inclined to assume that we're going to see the overall altcoin market move higher. And here's the thing, folks, if Ethereum is going to see a rally that's going to be outperforming Bitcoin, generally ETH doesn't move by itself. There may be times when it's outperforming a little bit of the overall market. And by all means, if ETH pushes up very hard, I mean, you're talking a 3x, 5x, 10x, maybe something that comes into Ethereum's playing field. When you're discussing things like where to put things of size, that's something where, like, okay, if I'm going to be looking for a huge investment opportunity, that ETH is going to be a little bit of a safer play. I think that it does have those potentials to see very sizable moves, 5x, 10x, and so on. And also the chart that we just looked at, where we're looking at the potential to outperform Bitcoin for a bit. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best performing altcoin, right? There's going to be some other alts in the space that are smaller market caps that are going to be able to 5, 10, 20, 30, 50x maybe. But what I'm looking at here is the overall spark in the market that really is aligning well. Okay, we have Bitcoin approaching key regions and already at key levels where we have not seen necessarily a sizable pullback in the sense of rotation, right? So we've seen just pretty much Bitcoin be the main show. Went from 15,000 to 112,000 in the course of basically 2 years. Whereas things like Ethereum and many other altcoins have been pretty much in the same zone, right? They've had some nice bursts, but they've pretty much given it all back. And there will be a time when that shifts, right? People are going to take major profits on Bitcoin, put it into small coins, even if it's just short term. And it's not say everybody's going to sell all their Bitcoin, but there are definitely periods of time where that does occur. Even if Bitcoin just kind of stands still and then the altcoins see that rally. I mean, that's usually the trend that we'll end up seeing. But aside from ETH versus BTC pair, looking like it's got a sizable reversal ahead of it here. Also, besides ETH just picking up and breaking out to those key levels where that 3,100 is going to be really crucial to see a new all-time high potentially in the nearest future. We've got the total 2 market here that has just been silently printing this cup and handle pattern. And normally I wouldn't tend to look to such a simple pattern and give it any kind of high credence here. But the fact that I really haven't seen this pattern from the mainstream really at all, even after the fact that I've pointed it out several times, whether it's on X, whether it's on here, it's still not really making its way around, right? Like, that's just something that's just not necessarily in top of mind to everybody, which is wild, because this is just such one of the most classic, simple setups here. It actually makes me feel more bullish about it because it's just not something that most people are talking about. So in this sense, we've seen obviously this rounded formation here. We got a pullback to the gold pocket really perfectly right into this downward descending channel here. You got a breakout, and we've been consolidating above. This is a high time frame chart, by the way. This is on a weekly time frame. This area over here is back in 2021. This is obviously just put in the end of last year. So we were to break this region. This is a multi-year breakout. I would imagine we'd see some really sizable moves here. And on top of that, a little bit of more of a green light. This was probably the more aggressive area to look for the altcoin entries. The secondary one is going to be if we come up and we actually claim $1.33 trillion, because that's just going to be that's a huge yearly level, in my opinion, or not even my opinion. That's a huge yearly level for that I'll be paying attention to. That once we clear that, I'll be looking for basically the continuation to the upside. And then, of course, you'll look for the breakout above here. Most will only start to really get excited once we break out here. Me, I'm already interestedly excited down here, more so, looking for the move higher as we get to this point. And then once we get to this level, I'm already fully positioned and looking for that move overall. And just a simple measured move here gives us an overall target of about 140% to the upside here, which would be massive for the altcoin market. Let's just take a look at what we saw at the end of last year. We saw about a 90% move, basically in between October and then December of last year, when we had that pretty aggressively short altcoin rally. So to see potentially a 2x of that is something of note. And this is not to say that'd be the end all be all. We could very well push up to something like this, come back down, get a higher low, and continue up. Obviously, we'll have to see the context around the market at that time. But in this little burst right here, this is where we saw XRP go 5x. This is where we saw HBAR go 7x. There's some potential here to see some really sizable moves, and I do think it's coming more than likely into the summer and on the end of the year, towards the end of the year. So we'll keep watching Ethereum's strength unfold, and while we do that, folks, remember that moments like these can set the tone for where the real capital is going to flow next. And whether it's timing the perfect altcoin entry or understanding the narratives that'll drive the next cycle, having the right tools and insights is literally everything. And that's exactly why we built DataDashPro.com, to give you a clear edge with actionable altcoin setups and macro research that actually matters. And if you are serious about protecting your assets, don't forget about Efani. It's one of the best ways to eliminate the SIM swap risk that's catching way too many traders off guard. Links to both are down in the description below, along with the discount code DataDash for Efani, where you can save $99 on your subscription plan. I'll be sure to see you all in the next video, everybody. And until then, cheers.